Hey kids, this is Adam. How you doing? Well, it's a busy day for me. I actually have to cut this video. Don't have to cut this video, but I wanted to. Then a couple little unboxing little shorts, which I'm going to add to other videos afterwards, and you'll understand that in a minute. And then I've got to do my RPG a day video later on. But anyhow, I wanted to talk about the subject. But before I started talking about this subject, this kind of dovetails a little bit into this subject. A little bit. I got some books at my local game store. I just happened to pick up a copy of Aberrant and of Mage, the Sorcerer's Crusade, $10 a piece. You know, to check out whether they were cool enough to get or not, and I was assured they were cool enough to get. Certainly for that price, pretty cool. So, don't have any White Wolf stuff, so I'm gonna read some storyteller stuff. And it's funny because I open these books, and at first, the way White Wolf, writes, you're not really sure if is this a role-playing game. I love how something like Circle of Hands does it, where like the very first page, or Ron Edwards puts down, boom, here's the rules. Not all the rules, but this is what's going to happen in the game. This is kind of how you play the game. Bam, 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 bam. Okay, now we'll talk about all this other setting stuff and whatnot. So, anyhow, maybe whoever continues the storyteller line could take that little bit of advice, because at first I'm like, I wonder if this is Aberrant or a book about Aberrant. Anyhow, I'm just poking a little fun at him. And also in the mail today, let's see, I got this, which I can't show you. I can't divulge the secret of where this is from yet. But I got this thing to check out here. And I got this other package, which really more relates to the topic. And this thing, is supposed to arrive on the 10th, and it has nothing to do with the Indie Press Revolution. They sent me another package, which I got, bam, right when it was supposed to show up on the 5th. This one was supposed to show up on the 10th. And because the other thing they sent me was Tech Noir. And this thing, I watched it the tracking, and it got sent from Nevada to LA to San Francisco, back to LA, back to San Francisco, like 3 or 4 times. So the USPS was just having a great time with it. I'm not sure what their problem was, but it was kind of funny. But they were nice enough when I contacted Indie Press. He was nice enough to say, I hate when they do this. And I said, it's not your fault, but just kind of let him know. And he was very, prompt, got back to me very promptly. Anyhow, this video has nothing to do with that, but I'll open these in other little unboxing videos. But anyhow, what the heck is this video about? Maybe the title, I'll give it away. On the RPG Brigade, I don't want to get his name wrong because I feel like I'm going to butcher this name. Dirk van Klaveren posts a question to the RPG Brigade. Yesterday, the day before? I think it was yesterday. Saturday. He posts the question is, here's an idea. World building is, per definition, interactive/collaborative. Do you agree? And he goes on to explain a little bit in his original post what he's talking about. And especially the ideas like, he talks about the idea that in the context of the world always seems to be about 2 role players setting apart some effort for world building through interaction and discussing wants, desires, all that kind of stuff. Or, in a novel, a writer kind of drops hints about like what else is on in the world, and you as the reader kind of fill all that in. I think I'm getting, you fill in all the blanks, so I think I'm getting all that right. That's really relevant to what I'm thinking about lately. I'm always thinking about like 10 different things, and I tell you what, like I was talking to Lee Rimmer a little bit today, and it was funny. I told him as the things I'd picked up today, and the things that arrived at my house. I told him the irony was not lost on me, because while he is busy like loading up the pram with books to bring to his local friendly game store to get rid of them because he has too many, here I am buying a bunch. But I told him, like, right now I'm being rather surgical. Like there's a bunch of systems I want to look at, I want to try out. There's ones where I've kind of looked, put feelers out there or asked people some questions or heard like, what's the best representative of this system, the clearest representative of this system? Because as I quipped to Lee, the part of what I'm doing is seeing how the other half lives. There are some games that, based on my preferences that I've discovered, I probably will not want to play all the time. Some of them look like they'd be a hoot to play a little bit, but they're not for me long term. But I want to discover what these games are all about. I want to see what makes them tick. I want to see, underneath the hood. This rotary engine, whatever it is. Me, I'm a Pontiac guy. I like a Le Mans. I like a GTO. The old ones, Tempest. Those are great cars, but that's a different discussion. Up till 1972, then all bets are off. Wasn't the same car. A nice Judge. Oh yeah, Le Mans Sport. Okay. Anyhow, we're not talking about that. The great Pontiac V8 455. So, really, I want to talk about this collaborative world building experience idea. Now that I've just gone all over God's creation talking about this, some of the games I've been looking at kind of approach world building in a collaborative way. Now, personally, do I think world building is by definition interactive and collaborative? No, I think world building means world building. Whether if it's collaborative world building or interactive world building, then it's collaborative or interactive world building. If it's solo world building, then it's solo world building. I think there's like 45 or 46 comments already on this particular thread. I'm not going to go through all of them. And people bring up all these points. So, but I'm not necessarily disagreeing with him that it can be collaborative and interactive. Now, that's a great example, the idea in a novel. One of the reasons I play role-playing games is I want to find out what else is out there. People have left me with this great setting in the novel, in the series, and it's full of all these holes, and I want to fill up all these holes. This great quote by George Lucas years ago, where he talked about, initially, his idea was, at the time, probably 1977 or 78, he did not want to make sequels. He said, I put up this great big concrete wall, and everybody else can have fun, like drawing gargoyles and this big mural on it. And of course, he ended up making the films anyway. But that's how I feel. I read a book, I see a film or whatever, and I want to I want to draw the mural on the wall. That's why I play role-playing games. I want to see what happens next. I want to inhabit those worlds, inhabit a character in those worlds. But beyond that, my preferred method is that there tends to be a world which has been created by somebody, whether it's the game master or a third party. But there's a game world reality. And what a lot of the games I'm exploring lately have kind of codified what we have done in the past for a long time as gamers, where it's been a little bit more collaborative, where the players have input in terms of what the game world reality is. And I've had videos talking about this, and I'm not saying I completely abandon this idea, because I still do this, where the player says, hey, could the world be like this, farther away from the epicenter? Because I like to define exactly, if I'm creating a world myself, I define, where the players are, the immediate locale. That's very, very concrete. I know what's going on in various areas of the world, but the players might suggest, hey, could this particular area up in the north be like this? And we've done this for years. It's, oh, sure, yeah, why not? So it becomes a little bit collaborative in that regard. Like, the original post, like Dirk already commented, a lot of times what happens is, we get together with people, we talk about, like, hey, what kind of game do you want to play? And then you start talking about, well, what could the world be like? Now, sometimes the game master just brings it and says, I'm having a game, this is the way my world is, boom. But other times you kind of have this discussion, well, yeah, do you want to play fantasy? All right, well, what kind of world do you want to be? And so it's somewhat collaborative. But then the game master goes back and creates this world, and then it becomes etched in stone, so to speak. But there are games out there, which I'm going to talk about later. I want to make videos about them, and I don't want to bash them. But I've had a lot of fun tearing these games apart. They look like they'd be a blast to play. Probably not for me long term, but still a blast to play. But part of what makes these games tick is this collaborative world building, where the players have a little bit more control over the game world reality. And not just in terms of what their characters say and do and how they interact with other people, but sometimes they can actually influence the reality of the world itself, and it's done in a codified manner. It's done in a manner, where the rules have kind of laid out. This is how you do it. And I'm sure you can guess what some of these games are, because I've already kind of mentioned a few of them in the very recent past. And one of them is in that package that went, back and forth from Los Angeles to San Francisco a bunch of times, is a representative of that type of game. So that's a really kind of interesting rabbit hole I've been going down, is checking out games that do that. But, it's a formalized way of doing kind of what we did a little bit. But, is it the right thing to do? Or, that's the wrong word to use. But does it line up with my preferences? Not always. But that's a really, really interesting topic that Dirk brought up. Do I think that world building is by definition collaborative? No. It can be very collaborative. It can be that we just have this big pre-session zero. We're discussing what kind of game do we want to do. Not just what game do we want to play, but what do we want that game world to be like, if it's up for grabs, if it's not already established. You can have a game like Fate, it talks right there in the beginning, where, you guys sit down and figure out exactly what you want to play, exactly what kind of world you want to play. So it's a very collaborative world-building exercise at that point. But there's games, including that one, that take it a bit further, where then the players, via in-game mechanics, can continue to collaboratively define the nature of reality in that game world, often subject to game master veto or censure, but still, there's a codified mechanic for doing that. I find that really interesting, because I was talking to Runeslinger about this a while ago, and he mentioned it. I said, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And there's many things that these games have done, codified things that we've done in the past, but that's part of it, is codifying that little fuzzy area that as game masters, oftentimes, especially in older games, like I grew up playing and played for a long time, you know, it's not in the rules, it's not codified, but often we have this idea of what the game world's like, and then the players throw out a suggestion or an idea. Sometimes they'll say, hey, can this, you know, city to the north be like this? But a lot of times what they do is they have suspicions of what things might be like, and you hear it and you say, man, that's a cool idea. They don't realize they've just altered game world reality, but they certainly have. So anyhow, yeah, that's just kind of an introductory video to this interesting topic. And so I'll be exploring some games that deal with this in a much more codified manner and be giving you my reactions to them. And, you know, I've been having a lot of fun just analyzing, tearing apart a bunch of games, you know, seeing what makes them tick. And I'm really looking forward to playing a bunch of them and seeing how they feel. You know, maybe I'll be surprised. Maybe I'll find some like really float my boat and I really dig it. We'll find out. So that's all I got. I got to go to the gym.